Good evening and Assalamualaikum. Today we will present about our assignment videos which is statistic and probability STA108. Before we starting, I will talk about the layout of our slides. First thing is the introductions, then the second is methodology. After that, follow with results, and finally conclusions. Then let's start with the introductions. The background of the study. The studies looks at how practical activity affects students' concentrations. Regular exercise is linked to better brain function, less stress, and better focus. The study gathers data from 51 students through a survey. After that, let's go to the objective. The first objective of the study is to analyze the link between physical activities and concentration. After that, study how intensity of or frequency and duration of its exercise influence concentrations. Finally, use statistics to explore these relationships. And so let's go to the final part of introductions, which is the significance of these studies. The significance of the studies is to show how exercise benefits students' focus and academic performance. Results can help students, educators, and institutions encourage healthier lifestyles.
This part, we will tell about methodology. First, data description. The variable collected include gender as a qualitative phenomenon, age for quantitative ratio, weekly frequency of physical activities, average duration per physical activity section as a quantitative ratio, self-rate concentration level as a quantitative ordinal. So, the population of the studies comprises all activity undergraduate university student in Malaysia. Sample a total of 50 undergraduate students were randomly selected to convenience sampling based on their voluntary participation. The sampling technique that we use is a simple random sampling to online distribution, targeting as a diverse student across multiple faculties. And the data collection method, primary data was collected via a structured questionnaire using a Google form. So the graphic tools that we use in this data is first pie charts as a gender, age and concentration. Secondly, bar histogram box plot as a frequency, duration and concentration levels. And third, scatter plot as a relationship between exercise and concentration. For numerical techniques, we are use central tendency as a mean, median and mode. Secondly, dispersion as a range, variance, standard deviation. And lastly, correlation and linear regression used to find trends and relationship.
Next, I will present about the data presentation, the demographics of respondents. From the pie chart and the table above, we can see that most of the respondents are male with the 62.7%, and most of them are 20 years old. The data skewed young with outliers up to age 38, but the majority were 20 years old. Next, physical activity habits. From the data collected, we can see that students do their exercises in 2 or 3 days per week, but the response varied widely from 0 to 7 days. Most sessions lasted for 45 minutes, which is the mode for time spent per session, with a right skewed distribution, which means some students exercise much longer than that. Next, the concentration levels. From the data collected, most of the respondents rated themselves with the middle score from 5 to 7. Crucially, 49% reported improved their focus after exercise, while 22% saw no changes in themselves. This hint at a practical link, even if the statistical correlation was weak.
So today, I will explain about descriptive statistic analysis. Based on the quantitative variable that we have identified and graph, we will now look at the descriptive analysis for the quantitative variable, which is age, weekly physical activities frequency, average session duration in minutes, and concentration. While the variable qualitative data is gender and change in concentration. This will involve the measure of central tendency, measure of dispersion, measure of position, and the skewness for each of the variables. For the first quantitative variable, which is the physical activities of the volunteer in weekdays, the mean value for this variable are 3.76. This means that on the average, the volunteers do physical activities for 3.76 days. From the median, we can interpret that 50% of the volunteer do physical activities less than 3 lbs, while the 50% of the volunteer do physical activities more than 3 days. As for the mode, we can interpret that most of the volunteer do physical activities or the range is 7 days. The standard deviation for this variable is 2.178, while the variance is 4.744. From the value, we can imply that the deviation of the data from the mean are large and the data will spread much greater than the mean since the variance value is big. Next, for the second quantitative variable, which is duration per session in minutes. The mean value for this variable is 44.37 minutes. This means that on the average, the volunteer do physical activities is 44.37 minutes. From the median, we can interpret that 50% of the volunteer do physical activities less than 45 minutes, while the 50% of the volunteer do physical activities more than 45 minutes. As the mode, we can interpret that most of the volunteer do physical activities for 45 minutes. We can interpret that the range of duration per session for most of the volunteer is 75 minutes. The minimum and maximum duration per session is 50 minutes and 90 minutes. First quartile is 33.0. Second quartile is 45.0. For third quartile is 60.0. From this value, we can imply that the deviation of the data, the mean, are large and the data will spread much greater than the mean since the variance value is big. Next is correlation and regression analysis. Based on the respective value from the table above, the regression line equation that we obtained was y equals to 5.61 plus 0.02x. This implies that when the duration per session of the volunteer increased by 1 days, the physical activities of the volunteer will increase by 5.61 days. A scatter plot can be made using the data collected. Next, from the scatter plot diagram above, we can interpret that is a positive linear relationship between the two variables. Furthermore, the diagram also shows that the variable have a medium positive correlation, and it also have a constant variance. As for the correlation value R, since we have the R is 0.02, we can interpret that the variable have a high correlation or a marked relationship. It have a positive linear relationship between the duration in session and physical activities of the volunteer in a week. For the coefficient determination, R2, the value that we obtain are R2 equals to 0.04. This implies that 66.67% of the total variation of the physical activities of the volunteer is due to the interest rate of the duration in session of the respondents, and 33.33 is due to other factors.
Next, the conclusion.
In conclusion, while the statistical strength of the relationship was limited, the practical implications are significant. Regular physical activity appears to contribute positively to students' concentration, which highlights the importance of integrating exercise into daily routines to support academic performance and overall well-being. Future research with a larger and more diverse sample may provide deeper insights and stronger correlations.